Welcome to Coffee and Coaching with Caryn. Grab your favorite mug, sit back, and enjoy. Now here's your host, Caryn Fitzgerald.
Hello there. I am super excited. I have with me Angela Winfield. And ladies and gentlemen, Angela Winfield, despite being declared legally blind at age 10, going totally blind at age 20, she is a graduate of Barnard College of Columbia University and Cornell Law School. She's a practicing attorney at one of the top 250 law firms in the country. She is a very, sought after motivational speaker, a certified life and success coach from the renowned IPEC coaching school. She is a published author, a community leader, a real estate investor, a wife, a successful entrepreneur. She serves on several not-for-profit boards of directors, and she's the vice president of her local United Way. And if you didn't hear the first thing I said, she was declared legally blind and she lost her sight at age 20. Wow. Angela.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I have chatted before, and, you are just a party and a person. You are. I mean, everything you and I were sharing. Okay, before we go any further, I have to ask you to share just a little bit about when you and I were talking. You were saying how your family. Well, let's give a little bit of background. So, tell us a little bit. I know the story, but I would love to share a little bit of your story as to how your sight was taken from you, and just a brief overview so people know the background a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So, I grew up as a normal child, other than I was diagnosed at age 4 with a condition called juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. And what happens with that is it affects your eye tissue at the same time. So I was probably visually impaired at the time, but no one knew it. My parents didn't know and didn't suspect it because I had a pretty normal childhood. I was out, riding bikes. I was playing in the neighborhood with my friends, going out in the woods and building forts. I didn't really let it stop me, but I did have to get a bunch of eye operations and surgeries. And when I was 10, one of those surgeries actually went wrong, and I lost the sight in my left eye, which left me with the sight in my right eye, and that was my bad eye at the time. So I was classified as legally blind. And I still, at that time, I didn't use a cane. I didn't have like a seeing eye dog. I just had really, really thick glasses and they were bifocals, really thick bifocal glasses. And then in addition to that, I had like a set of reading glasses and all kinds of devices that I used to see. But it was still kind of on a as need to know basis, and I kept it a secret. But it was a really normal childhood. And I think that's what you were getting at, right, Caryn?
It was. And I love one of the stories you were telling me. You've got some siblings, and I remember a story you were telling me about your parents and your family didn't treat you any differently, and it appears that at times they almost forgot that you were unable to see. And you were telling me stories about cars and things.
Yes. And this is to this day. This is after I went totally blind and have no sight. So, when I'm with my family, things are always different with your family. So I don't use, now I have a seeing eye dog and a cane, but I don't necessarily use them when I'm with my family. I take, an arm from them and sighted guide. And there are times when, I'll be with my sister and we'll drive someplace and we'll get there and she'll get out of the car, I'll get out of the car, and she'll like walk away. She'll start walking away. And I'm like, hey, Missy, I'm here. I need an arm. So, yeah, it's not at the forefront.
One of these days they're going to leave you stranded in a mall or something.
Yeah, I know.
Goodness gracious. But that's got to be a wonderful feeling on both sides, even though I'm sure it's a little unnerving at times. Mm-hmm. But I'm sure it's also a really wonderful feeling that nobody treats you any differently than your other siblings, and your parents treat you the same. And it's like, you know what, you can all do the same darn thing, and don't tell me you can't vacuum because, that's no excuse.
Oh, that's right. That is true. But the thing that's so amazing, I didn't tell you this part, even with my colleagues, and it's interesting, when I travel on business, there gets to be a point in the relationship where they forget about me too. and they forget about the blindness. And I was like, you know what, you're walking away from me, aren't you? Like, yep, I am. And like, to me, like, now that's such a beautiful thing, because they're seeing past, like, you know, all of the stuff, and they're seeing me as a person. And that's like the most genuine connection that you can have with somebody, when they just see you and nothing else.
I love that. I love that. So you talked about, you said right now, and I know you're in you're 30, 31?
I'm 30. I'll be
Okay.
31 in a couple of weeks.
Okay, well, happy early birthday. So at 30, you said you've lost your sight 100%. It's gone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for a lot of people, one of the biggest fears is the darkness. And for the average person, you know, kids say, I'm scared of the dark. Well, you stick on a nightlight. That alleviates the fear. How did you, first of all, were there fears? I mean, I'm going to guess and say there probably were. What were some of the fears about becoming blind and losing the actual physical sight through your eyes?
Mm-hmm. I mean, my biggest fear, everything became a fear for me. Like, I didn't know if I'd be able to have anything that I wanted. I didn't know if I'd be able to have a career, find someone to love me, any of that stuff. And the thing that got me the most is because I grew up in, well, downstate New York, and we get snow. And one time I got disoriented in the snow, and I just went to the mailbox for my parents, and I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, I'm going to die of exposure out here because I can't find my way back to the door. You know, so that was the kind of fear. It's like, okay, what can I realistically do now that I have no sight? That was the fear. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So how did you overcome, because I'm going to go back a moment here before we go into that question. I'm going to go back a moment here. Graduate of Barnard College of Columbia University and Cornell Law School. I mean, I grew up in New York, so those are not your, fly-by-night community colleges. Those, first of all, you've got to have some intense education, and you've got to be on it to get into those schools and to stay there. You're a practicing attorney at one of the top 250 law firms in the country. And not to mention all of your community service and everything that you do. How did you overcome that fear and accomplish everything that you are accomplishing?
The bigger fear that I had, more than all of that, was not finding out what was possible. You know, I was more afraid of never doing anything, of being stuck in my parents' house forever, and not experiencing life. That scared me even more, because there was a time when I was extremely suicidal, and I attempted my life, and that didn't work out. And it was almost like, you know what, if I'm not afraid to die, why am I so afraid to live and just find out if this is even possible? Because, a lot of it was in my head. Obviously, it was in my head. So fear became kind of a signpost for me that there may be something good on the other side, because, of course, there's always certain dangers out there, but most of the time it's in your head, and there's something good on the other side of that fear.
Well, I want to step back for a minute, because you talked about being suicidal, and I know you and I have talked before, so I know there was a period where you were depressed and suicidal. And what would you say to somebody who may not be dealing with the physical issues that you were dealing with, but who just turned around, they're at a point in their life where they're thinking everything is just so dark, and the only way out is to exit? What would you say to somebody who's at that point that may be listening?
Honestly, and this is, truthful, and it's going to be raw. If you're at that point and you're thinking of exiting, to me, that's courage. It's not the answer, but if you're willing to take that sort of steps, that sort of commitment and a final action like that, that means you want to have a life, a good life, one that you enjoy so desperately that you're willing to exit it. So instead of, rechannel that energy and actually find out if what you want is possible. Because, no one goes to that place. I don't think anyone goes to that place and says, you know what, I'm ready to check out, if they don't want something. You're yearning for happiness. You're yearning for that. So channel your courage.
That's
find
a
out.
very powerful way of framing and phrasing that, because so many people look at it as, oh, they were just so depressed and that was the end of it. But to express it in a way that it allows us to look at it from a different viewpoint, in terms of, you know what, you're miserable with what you are currently experiencing, so channel that energy into something that you were looking for and step forward into a different place where life is passionate and purposeful.
Mm-hmm.
That's extremely powerful. So you say you credit your success to the power of the human spirit, something that we all possess, but don't always know how to tap into. What is the human spirit? What is the benefit of this human spirit and tapping into this power?
To me, the human spirit is this energetic force that is within you, it's within me, and it's unique to humans, but it's the thing that allows us to overcome obstacles. When we hear these stories, like my story, that are inspirational, or you hear of people who accomplish these extraordinary feats, yes, part of it is due to their own unique gifts and talents, but the other part of it, that grit, that motivation, that's the human spirit. Like, that's what we were meant to do. That's what you were meant to do as a person, is to encounter difficulties and draw on this innate internal strength and rise above. Throughout history, that's what we do as humans. Our great leaders, our great people, not only like worldwide leaders, but like our local community leaders, people in our families, our neighbors. That's the kind of strength that we all are drawn to, and we each have that.
We all have a power within us that we can draw from, and that it's something that is just going to drive us and push us forward to be the best person we can be. When we come back, I know you talk about the master keys, 4 master keys for unlocking unlimited success in your life. So when we come back after this quick break, will you share with us those 4 keys, or can you share 1 or 2?
Gladly.
Beautiful,
yeah.
Beautiful. Okay, we're going to take a quick break and stay with us. When we come back to Coffee and Coaching with Caryn, we will talk more with Angela Winfield.
Stay tuned. Coffee and Coaching with Caryn will be back after these messages.
Need a little more happiness in your life? Here you go. The Happiness Recipe Podcast to the rescue. Listen each week as June Klein and Sandy Weaver Carmen share wit, wisdom, and wonderful food with their guests. Guaranteed to add happiness to your life. happinessrecipe.net.
Yo, attention authors, share your work on Coffee and Book Chat. Book reviews, author interviews, blog posts all about you and your book. Visit coffeeandcoachingradio.com for details today.
Are you looking for quality entertainment and activities for the entire family? Then come on down to the Plaza Theater Company and Plaza Academy Dance Studio, located in Cleburne, Texas. The Plaza Theater Company is an award-winning community theater that presents 10 productions a year, performing every single weekend. If you have a child that enjoys acting, dancing, or singing, then you can enroll them in the Plaza Academy Dance Studio. For more information, visit plaza-theater.com or call 817-202-0600.
Welcome to Coffee and Coaching with Caryn. Grab your favorite mug, sit back, and enjoy. Now here's your host, Caryn Fitzgerald.
We are back with Angela Winfield. I'm loving this. This is so much fun. I know you're all the way up in New York, and I think it's funny when you said downstate, because I grew up in New York, and I used to say upstate until I met people from Albany.
That's right. I did the same thing, Caryn. Oh, if you only knew. So I'm in Syracuse now.
Well, that's really upstate. That's upstate.
It is. It is upstate. They call it Central New York.
Oh, well, I was an hour outside of the city, and so when I said upstate, people were like, "Are you serious? Do you have any clue of geography?" I'm like, "No, I don't. I'm good."
See, I thought that was upstate too. You're not alone. Not alone.
And then I met my husband. He came from Hyde Park in Poughkeepsie, so that he kind of had me beat. And then we went to Albany, and I was like, oh yeah, there's an entire whole section of the state up here that I was missing. So
right.
I'm telling you,
funny.
geography. I guess we need a geography class.
Yeah. So I'm from Newburgh, right across the river there.
Okay, so you're not too far. Not too far. So we've been enjoying you, and so grateful you're able to take some time out of your schedule today. We talked a lot about the experience you had in losing your sight and moving on to create some truly magnificent things in your life. And what I've noticed about you, first of all, you have an incredible energy. And when I was looking at some photos that you sent last night, I don't know if anyone's ever told you this, because I'm not going to say, have you seen your photos? Because I know you haven't seen your photos. But there is an energy about you. I passed your photos on to my web guys so they could put them up there. And for anybody who hasn't read the information about Angela and looked at her photos, you're missing out. You have such an energy, and my tech guy calls me and he goes, oh my gosh, I don't know this woman, but I can tell you she's going to be a lot of fun, because there's an energy that comes through her photos, and if she's anything like this, oh my goodness, this is going to be fun.
Wow, thank you.
You have such a powerful spirit. You're very welcome. You are just an amazingly powerful, radiant spirit. And it shows in so many ways, and just in talking with you and seeing your photos, just a blessing, just an absolute blessing.
Thank you.
Well, okay.
My mama didn't name me Angela for nothing, huh?
Your mama knew what she was doing.
Apparently.
So yeah, and the thing is, I'm sure your siblings, all they're hearing is, at times, well, Angela could do it. Why can't you? I'm sure that was an interest. Actually, let me ask you about that. Now your brothers are they older, younger?
They're both older. Both older.
So did they ever hear that kind of statement from your parents? Like, well, comparing you to them and them to you?
No, actually, no, they didn't. Because my parents, they were old school. They expected everything out of all of us.
Oh.
Yeah, so it was just like that was the norm. I wasn't special. They weren't special. We all had to do what we had to do.
That's amazing. Okay, so we talked a little bit, we hinted a bit that we're going to talk about the 4 master keys for unlocking unlimited success in your life. So I would love to hear whatever you're willing and able to share about these master keys.
All right. Fantastic. Okay, so let's do an overview at least, because the acronym for the 4 master keys is OPEN, right? To open your mind, open your eyes, and open your heart, right? And that's the way you get to success. So I'm going to run down the 4 of them.
Okay.
O is for outlook. P is for plan. E is for education. And N is for network. And I can give you a site if you want to go and download all of them, because we're not going to get into too much detail with all of them, but I can tell you a little bit about some of them.
That would be great. And then what we can do is we can put the website onto Facebook and all the different places so that people can get right there, click on it, and download. That would be absolutely fabulous.
Wonderful.
Okay.
So outlook, we've kind of talked about that a little bit with shifting. When you asked about, what kind of advice would I give to someone who is, thinking about ending their life and making that shift, redirecting your energy, that's outlook, right? It's your perspective, it's your point of view and how you think about yourself, your life, other people, and the world. And when you optimize your outlook for success, that's when you're able to start seeing opportunities, right? And you hear about people talk about transforming obstacles into opportunities. That's all outlook stuff. When you start looking and perceiving for not what you just see, but what you feel and what you sense. The same sort of thing when I talked about that connection between myself and colleagues when they forget about my blindness and they just see the humanity, like that's where you want to be. You want to be that pure, I call it your naked eye view, because you're not having these filters of societal norms, societal expectations, what you think is possible. You're just open. You're open to seeing what's out there. That's outlook. That's the first key.
Okay.
The second one is plan. Right? And planning is tricky because lots of people have a plan, but they don't know exactly where they're going, I've noticed, right? You always, when you plan, you start at the end. You start at the very end and figure out exactly what you want and reverse engineer what you need to get there. And the other important thing that I'll point out is with a plan, plans change. You know, you got to have an idea of how you're going to get there, but you have to be open and flexible to getting there in a different way.
So plans change. So the roadblocks, hurdles, all that stuff can bump up in front of you as well.
That's right. That's right.
Wow. Okay. So education, number 3,
education.
right?
And this is a two-part thing because everyone probably has heard, most people have heard of formal education, right? You need to have the right training, skill set, et cetera, et cetera. But what doesn't get talked about is the self-education, right? You have to be the definitive expert in you, Y-O-U, your own understanding, right? Because nobody else can do that. Nobody else can do that job except for you. And once you really understand, like truly deeply, your strengths, your gifts, your talents, as well as your weaknesses and flaws and imperfections, which we all have, once you know all of those and can embrace them and accept them, it becomes so much easier to welcome in success because you know where you need support. You know where you shine, and you can let yourself shine. And you also know, okay, here's where I'm going to need support, and you're not afraid to ask for it.
On the self-education, what are some suggestions or guides that you can share with people in terms of how they become so self-educated? What are some of the things that they can do, just simple things, day to day, to help enhance that self-education?
Start paying attention to what you're thinking and feeling as you do things, because usually you're out there just doing, right? Stop and check in with yourself and kind of keep track of how you feel when you're doing what you're doing, what you're thinking when you're doing what you're doing, and just start to get curious with yourself. That's one thing. So, keep a check-in, like diary or journal. The other thing is to start spending time with yourself and date yourself. Take yourself out on a date, just you alone. Go out there and get comfortable being with yourself. Because, the way I look at it is, if you don't want to be with yourself, no one else is going to want to be with you. So I got to be my best friend. And that's when things shift, is when you're really comfortable with who you are, other people are comfortable with you, and you show up in a really authentic way without even trying, because you're just you. You're just you.
I would love that to ask you a question about that, because that's how I am. I enjoy myself. I have a good time. I talk to myself in the mirror, and people think I'm ridiculous but I have fun. I one of my biggest challenges, most of the people around me know, is driving down the road, because every time I look in the rearview mirror, I get to see me, and I just smile and start laughing, and I'm thinking, oh, eyes on road. So I can be quite entertaining with myself. What would you say to somebody who is constantly, let me backtrack a minute. I've always believed that you attract what you are. That's my firm belief. And what would you say to somebody who is constantly talking about their friends or supposed friends, people around them, and kind of nitpicking about them, oh, they're always drama, or, all the negative things they could possibly say about the people that are closest to them? And we won't get into the, that's a gossip whole thing, but what would you say about mindset and attraction and just things like that? What would you share about that?
Well, the bottom line of that is, if you didn't want to be around that, you wouldn't. So there's something about when you start nitpicking with people and you're saying, oh, there's this and there's that, you've made a choice to be around. There's something about you, and this is putting a lot of responsibility on you, but that's all that you can be responsible for, that wants that. No, you say you don't. But there's something that keeps you going back and keeps them coming. So until you decide, for yourself that, I don't want this around me.
Yeah.
It's going to be around you.
That's such a powerful Excuse me, it's such a powerful thing because it does come back to the personal responsibility of making a choice. And we've got 3 of the keys. Key number 4, you said, is network.
Network, that's right. And I'm talking about your support network, not necessarily Facebook, although Facebook is wonderful and has its place. I'm talking about your, what I call your CPR team, your core personal revitalization team, right? These are the people. These are your core people that get you, know you, see you, and can breathe the life back into you. Right? They're the people that celebrate you, that champion you, that push you, that hold you to who you are. That's the network that you need to have in order to be successful.
Wow, so those are the people. I always say there's 3 types of people that we run into, and the first is going to be the mentors and the people that uplift you and assist you through, coaches and mentors. And those may be people that you may not necessarily know personally. It may be through a CD or DVD or a seminar. That's group 1. And then you got group 2, which is, well, let me go back. Group 3, which is all the negative, dream stealers. They find all the nasty stuff. Section 2 is the people that are going to uplift you. And they're going to support you. And when you say, this is my goal, I'm going to drop 25 pounds, they say, wonderful, let's go take a walk. Or let's go get a healthy meal. Versus, okay, well, how about you start tomorrow and let's go to the ice cream store and get a pizza. So I love that. And I want you to just share again, you have that acronym, the acronym that you just shared, which you said was...
The acronym is OPEN.
No, the second, the one I was actually that one, but the second one,
CPR team. Okay,
yes.
the CPR team.
Yeah, that's your
core personal revitalization team.
I love it. I absolutely love it. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more with Angela, and we got some fun stuff coming up. So right back after these messages.
Stay tuned. Coffee and Coaching with Caryn will be back after these messages.
Hey Lily, do you have lines, wrinkles, or low energy?
Yeah, I do.
Well, change it all now. Look and feel younger from the comfort of your own home today.
How?
Visit 10yearsyoungernow.com for your free personal consultation.
Thanks, guys.
You're welcome.
Looking to monetize your passions? Ready to get paid for doing what you love? Contact Caryn at coffeeandcoachingradio@gmail.com and get creative strategies for developing income while doing what you love.
Dreaming of turning your book into an audiobook? Make it happen. More and more people are discovering the joy of audiobooks. They should be discovering you. Our professional personal service gives you just the audio product you've dreamed of. Check us out, voiceworkondemand.com.
Welcome to Coffee and Coaching with Caryn. Grab your favorite mug, sit back, and enjoy. Now here's your host, Caryn Fitzgerald.
So we are back with Angela Winfield, who is an attorney, a speaker, a certified life coach, an author, an entrepreneur. And, oh, by the way, did you hear her mention she is blind? So if you think you've got obstacles in your life, you know what? You got none compared to what she's gone through. And she has created something extremely powerful. So we're going to talk a little bit more. Angela, we just finished talking about the 4 keys to unlocking unlimited success in life. Talking about those 4 keys. So I would just love to hear a little bit more about you. You did not get to where you are now by living in an isolation chamber. You've obviously connected yourself and collaborated and partnered with some incredible people who have been part of your core personal revitalization team. So who has been, if you can just, I'm sure there's more than one, but who's been the greatest influence in your life? Would you share some about that with us?
Absolutely. And that's always a tough question because it's a 2-part thing. One is myself, right? Because if it weren't for me, right, and if it weren't for my thoughts, and it's difficult to articulate this, but I've influenced all the decisions I've made. I've allowed the support to come in. And I take responsibility for where I've been, but the people that have been most supportive, it started with my mother.
Wow.
And I didn't realize how supportive she was until I looked back on it, which is probably a mistake, but once I realized that, I can adapt that going forward. But my mother is a worrywart, right? Complete, utter worrywart, and I'm her baby. I'm the youngest. And I remember after I lost my sight, and I said, I still want to go to London and study there for a semester, Mom. She was the one who helped me fill out the application.
Wow.
Even though she did not want her baby to go across the Atlantic by herself. And when I was older, I asked her, I said, Mom, how did you do that? And she said, you weren't afraid. She said, I couldn't let my fear stop you. Like that sort of generosity, that sort of love, that sort of support was invaluable. Invaluable. And she'd been giving that to me kind of through osmosis, So that was the greatest influence of my life. That, and then my husband as well, because he lets me shine. He'll push me, and he's the one that calls me out all the time and says, you didn't do as good as you could have with that. Why are you holding back? And inevitably, it's like, oh, because I'm afraid about this. I was concerned that people might think, poorly of me if I said that. He's like, well, you're only cheating yourself and everybody else. I'm like, oh, you're right. You're right.
Oh my
So those are my two big influences.
Wow. And we only have a few minutes left, but I want to just touch a bit. When you went overseas. Mm-hmm. Okay. So wasn't there was a story you shared? You didn't go by yourself initially.
Right.
So
right.
Would you share just a little bit about that experience?
Mm-hmm. So my older brother, who's wonderful, he actually got on the plane with me, took me over there, and he stayed for a weekend. It was a whirlwind trip. He showed me how to get to my first class on campus. He showed me how to get to the grocery store. He bought me a bunch of groceries, filled up the refrigerator, and he said, all right, kiddo, call me if you need anything, and went to the airport.
And left you alone in a foreign country.
Left me alone there, and I sat there in my, and I will say room. He sat in my room, and I thought about what I was going to do. It's like, okay, I'm here now. He's left. Everybody that I know and love is 3,000 miles away.
So not only were you in a foreign, because a lot of kids travel abroad, do the student, all that kind of stuff, but to do that in a foreign country by yourself without sight, that just goes to show how intentional you were and you are in terms of living your life to the fullest and not allowing any obstacle to stop you, just finding alternative routes. What has been the most surprising or unexpected benefit of your success?
That my success actually helps other people. I never knew that. I never thought about that until afterward. And I think most people don't think about that. You're so stuck in your own head, in your own place. And meanwhile, whether you know it or not, whether you accept it or not, you're actually leading. Like when you start to live fully and authentically, it means something to other people. And that's that's wonderful and amazing and so humbling to me.
It is an incredible, incredible place to be, to look at our lives and realize that in stepping forward and failing forward and all that kind of, however you want to say it, it's inspiring others to take a step back and go, if they can do it, I can do it. And it's okay if I fall down. The trick is, here's the secret, everybody. You want to know what the secret to success is? The secret is get up one more time than you've fallen down. That's the secret. I mean, Angela, do you find that that's one of the biggest secrets that...
That is the truth. That is it. Because you will get knocked down. I got knocked down. I still get knocked down. And you just got to get up.
Yeah, that's
get up.
the other thing is staying inspired and being self-motivated and also motivated from outside places and different things. And I mean, I have my daily rituals that I do that if anybody looking in my windows, if my neighbors ever looked in my windows at any hour of the day and night when I was doing some of these rituals, I know that there would be men at my front door with straitjackets. Because I look absolutely, I know I do. I know I look absolutely ridiculous, but it puts me in a state of joy and fun and creation. And I just keep thinking, this is just too much fun. It should be illegal. And sometimes I don't understand how people go through their lives not having that much fun when it's so easily and freely available. But, free choice. So how do you keep yourself motivated and inspired? What are some of the fun things you like to do?
I think we're kindred spirits, Caryn, because I think I got some guys waiting to take me away, too. Oh, goodness, if you could see me. So one of the things that I always do, and I am not a good singer, but I love to sing and dance around my house. And always to inspirational music. There's certain songs that really, touch me. One of my favorites, one of the ones I listened to actually before I got on this call and was singing my little heart out to was Alicia Keys' Girl on Fire.
Oh, love it. Love it. It's all about the fun. I am tone deaf. Okay. Sammy is the voice in our home. Well, my husband too, but Sammy is the singer. I am tone deaf. I called a girlfriend of mine the other day, and as her phone was ringing and I got her voicemail, I don't know what inspired me, but I just decided to start singing. So I'm singing You Are My Sunshine on her voicemail. And then I left the rest of my message, and she sends me a text and she says, "That was just amazing. You made my day." And I said, "Really?" And she just, it was just a wonderful feeling for both of us. And we just had so much fun because I'm thinking, nobody told me to stop singing. So, okay. So what's next for you? I know you don't sound like a woman who says at 30 and all this achievements, okay, I'm good and I'm just going to float for the next 30 or 40 years or 60 years. What's next for you?
Yeah, no, tons of stuff. I'm looking forward to so much. I will have my book coming out. I plan to take the world by storm. I'm really stepping out, and you'll be hearing from me again. You'll be hearing my message. I want to go big, because I believe the world needs this. So we shall see, but I'm not done by any means.
I love that. So can we have you back?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This was incredible fun.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so anything before we sign off, anything that I didn't touch on that you want to share with everyone listening? We'll get all your information posted, and I know there's a master key tip sheet. Oh.
What I will say is that when you start to believe, and I know that you do, and if you're inspired by my words and my story, that means that you do believe that what I'm saying is the truth. And that's the first step, is to let that belief grow within you and start taking action. Start taking action to make it your reality.
I absolutely love it. Ladies and gentlemen, we have had the pleasure of speaking with Angela Winfield, and she is an incredible attorney, speaker, certified life coach, author, entrepreneur, and is taking the world by storm. And Angela, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day and sharing with us. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to close out the show. And Angela, thank you again for being with us.
My pleasure. Thank you, Caryn.
You've been listening to Coffee and Coaching with Caryn.
Thank you so much for joining us. Tune in next time for more Coffee and Coaching with Caryn.
Until then, visit us at coffeeandcoachingradio.com.
Caryn Fitzgerald is an author, speaker, business strategist, and leadership coach. Connect with her at coffeeandcoachingradio.com.